Good afternoon. Welcome to Bloomerang Academy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we are talking about Bloomerang and DonorSearch. DonorSearch is a wonderful tool that Bloomerang integrates with, and it gives you actionable insights, giving history, and wealth intelligence that connects more people to your cause. And to talk to us about it today is Michael Bronson, one of our friends from DonorSearch, who is an enterprise partnership manager at DonorSearch. Hi, Mike. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Well, I know we have a lot of great content to cover today, so we'll go ahead and get started. For all of you who are listening to us today, if you have any colleagues that weren't able to join us, you'll get a copy of the recording so you can share the good stuff that you learned today. Take it away, Mike.
Awesome, will do. So thank you for having me, of course. Appreciate it. Appreciate working with Bloomerang. We have been partners for, I guess, going on 7 years now. And we have tons of mutual clients, and so far, everybody loves everything. So I hope we can keep that going.
As we're switching over to Mike's screen, I forgot to ask. We have a question for everyone who's here today. Let us know if you're currently using DonorSearch with Bloomerang. So if you're making use of the generosity score, or if you have prospect view, batch screening, or the online suite of tools, or you aren't using DonorSearch yet, and you want to find out what it's all about and how it works, please let us know in the poll.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be exciting. Curious how many people use that. Is this it's on my screen now? Is it, do we get to see the results, or do we have to wait till later for that?
I'll give it a couple more seconds to give our folks today time to answer. We're also getting some answers in chat. Yes, we are. We just converted this week, so we're completely new to it. Welcome.
Awesome. Yeah. Let us know if you have any questions.
Also, a note here, we have it, but I don't know how to use it to its capacity. Great question.
You're
Perfect
in the right place. Yeah. We can walk through that.
Exactly. It looks like 63, the numbers are changing as I'm saying that, but about 60% of those joining us today haven't used DonorSearch yet. 23% have prospect view, 19% have been using the generosity score, and 6% each have either had a batch screening or used the online suite of tools.
Got it. So mostly people who are on the more unfamiliar side. Awesome, because then we have more to show you. That works. All right, so I guess, can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
All righty. Let's share this screen. Right there.
I can see your screen.
Awesome. Awesome. So we're going to start inside of Bloomerang. Before we get too far into it, Bloomerang is an excellent system that helps you store your information. And one of the things they give to every one of their clients, so if you're already converted and you're also already set up in Bloomerang, you should have this, is what we call a generosity score. Now, what that is actually it's a compilation score that looks at all these data sets that we provide and helps identify how much major gift potential would be in this potential donor, right? So when we look at the top rating on Fire, this is saying this person is a major gift donor somewhere, right? So then when you compare it to your engagement level, it's to help you identify, your relationship with this person. So in this example, we don't have much of a relationship with this person, but he's a major gift potential, right? So we should start building up that engagement so that we can get there with this potential donor. Now, as we go down a little bit, this hot and warm are basically going to say this person has the capacity to make a major gift, but we've never seen them doing it. It could mean because they just aren't philanthropic. It could also mean that they're giving anonymously, or they're making at a point to hide their charitable giving. Either way, those top 3 sections are really great. And it says that your organization has an opportunity with this individual or this couple. And then obviously on fire would be better, but these top 3 are really great. Now, these bottom 2 doesn't necessarily mean that these are bad potential donors. These are your average donors, right? So they're going to be great for your annual fund, great for that monthly giving program, and at that standard level. It's just with these individuals, you probably don't need to jump through hoops to build this really strong relationship with someone who may not give in the long run. Obviously, if you have the capacity to build a great relationship with every single one of your donors, then do it. That's never going to be the bad idea. But if you had to choose between some people over the other ones to kind of invest that time and energy with, then certainly there's more potential for those individuals. Now, there's a lot of data that goes into this score. It's looking at business data and real estate and wealth markers and philanthropy markers, all of it. And that's basically what we do at DonorSearch. Our goal is to help you as a nonprofit specifically identify your donors and segment them based on their potential and based on their likelihood. Okay, so we have a series of data sets. Probably one of the most important being charitable giving, where we go out and we find charitable gifts of all shapes and sizes from all types of nonprofits through public annual reports, right? And we collect those documents and we put them in a big database and then help you sort through them so that when you give us a name and an address, we can help you find that person's charitable giving, if it exists. And then we look for other markers like their real estate and like their businesses and all those other details to help identify this is a top prospect. So all of that goes into that generosity score, and Bloomerang gives that away for free as part of being a Bloomerang customer. So it's really great of them. And it puts them kind of above and beyond a lot of other systems. Now, you also have the ability to try a feature called Prospect View. That will allow you to go into this score a little bit, see all the detail behind it, and then get lots and lots of details about the individual and find out more about them. So you see on my screen, it says View Generosity Details. It may say something differently on your screen, but basically we're going to hop over to this button, View in DonorSearch. And what that's going to do is it's going to go deeper into that score. It's going to pull up what we call a DonorSearch Profile, and it's going to give you all the details we were able to find on this individual. Okay, now this service itself is an add-on, right? It does carry with it an additional cost. It's I believe it's 15% of what you pay for Bloomerang. On top of that, so if you want to get this service, it's really quick and easy. You just click a button and build these profiles. And you can, of course, talk to your customer success managers. And then we're going to do a survey at the end of this if you want us to have someone reach out to you. But what this service is going to do is it's going to give you all the background detail behind that score. That score on our platform is what we call the DS rating, right? So this person's a DS 1-1. And it highlights that this person has already given a major gift, which we label statistically at $5,000. Once they've given a $5,000 gift, they're more likely to repeat that action. Okay, so we found a gift that this person gave worth over $5,000. He gets our top ranking, but there's a big cry between a $5,000 gift and a $10 million gift, right? So where does he lie in that range? That's why we give you these 2 target asks. Now, the bottom one is a more traditional target ask, and it's basically looking at his wealth factors and saying, what could he afford to give, right? And based on what we know about this individual, he could afford to give $100 million. That's designed to be 10% of his net worth at 2% per year for a 5-year pledge, okay? Now, in a lot of situations, if you look at somebody like me, like myself, if you look at somebody with a $300,000 piece of real estate, that's going to say, okay, this person could give $30,000, which in a lot of those cases they could if they were going to sell their house or their business or any detail, right? That's unlikely. It's certainly capable, okay? The reason I point that out is that we kind of lean on this number instead. This is a target ask based on giving. It's less traditional way to look at it, but this is kind of built around the fact that we have the data to show you what they're giving elsewhere. So here we're showing you that the single largest gift this person has made is $1 million gift, right? That's great, right? You know he's giving very large gifts. Depending on how you started your relationship with this individual, let's say he made a initial $50 gift, you know that to follow up from that gift, you could probably safely ask for 500 instead, and that would turn off a lot of individuals who made a first-time gift. But for this person, having given $1 million away, he's probably not even going to notice the difference between 50 and 500, right? So he's much more likely to give those larger gifts when asked, right? Otherwise, most organizations without any additional information would continue asking that $50 donor for another $50, or they might do a stretch gift of 75 or maybe 100, right? So this helps you kind of take that leap of faith because you have the confidence behind it. Okay, now this section right here gives you some updated information that shows you what data we found in each one of these columns. But in fact, you can just scroll down the profile and see all of these details on the left. Each one of those is going to give you all of the detailed information behind that data set. So the first one, charitable giving, is going to highlight our charitable giving data set, that where we can list out each and every charitable gift we found associated with this person. Right now, you may be asking yourself, how do we know that this gift belongs to this person? And the fact is, we don't. Okay, we have an annual report that contains all of this information, and then you gave us a name, a spouse, maybe a full address, that kind of thing. Right. So how do we get from point A to point B? Basically, what we do is we compare the data. Right, the more of the middle initials and the name and the spouse's name that are included, the higher the score. Then we look at things like proximity. How close is this person's house to this organization? Because you're much more likely to give to organizations within 50 miles of your home. Okay. We also look at how common the name is. Right. So is this a super common name? Are there a ton of them in that state? Or is this a very rare, unique name? Right? All of that goes into how likely this gift is to match to this person, right? So when you see 3 stars, you know that we're very confident in the gift. It's always possible that it's incorrect, but we have the confidence behind it, and we have one of the best match logics that exists. So it's really trustworthy. As you go down, you see 2 stars. That means we trust it. We feel confident in it, but there's less data to match to. And then as you go down here, you'll see these 1-star gifts. This is where we're really not sure if this is the same person or not. Either we don't have enough information, or in this case, they're on the other side of the country, making it much less likely that that's them. Okay. In some of these, you can immediately discount them, right? And you'll pick up little details here and there that are just so different that you're like, okay, that's obviously not them. Quick and easy decision. You can delete those gifts. But if you get to know the person you're looking at, maybe you're looking at a board member, maybe you're just looking at a donor that's been around for a while, you can quickly pick up, oh, this is them, maybe they sit on this board, la-di-da, and then you can make that decision as you go through. So you can mark these as 3-star gifts. Now, instead of marking them just 3-star like our other 3-star gifts, you'll see up here that it actually confirms them at 3 check marks. And that shows you that someone on your team has manually verified the data, right? And you can do this without fear, because none of our other clients are ever going to see the changes you make. You're really only making these changes for the betterment of your own personal data, right? So if somebody else searches the same person with all the same data, they would have to make their own decision on whether or not that gift belongs to this person. Right? So you can go through and you can spend as much time on this as you want, or as little time as you want. As you can see, we've already rated him as a great prospect. So really, you can just kind of take that knowledge and move on with it. Okay, but if you want to get into the weeds and see all the different data sets, you can just keep scrolling and find the different data sets that are available. So I'll kind of quickly give you an example of each, but as you'll notice on the far right here, you'll see that scores on every piece of data, right? So no matter what type of data it is here, you can see quickly how likely or how many gifts we feel are confident versus total gifts that we found could match to this person. All right, so here we have 36 out of 55 political gifts. Now, if you don't want to see political giving, some organizations have decided not to. You can just go into your editor and remove these fields from your view, and then you don't have to see it, right? You can also move around the columns if you prefer to move certain data sets to the top if you want to focus on them. Okay. The next piece of data we have here are real estate matches. This is a quick and easy way to identify wealth, obviously, but it's also a great way to clean up your data a little bit. Because as you can see, we get a middle initial, spouse's name, spouse's middle initial on a piece of property. So if you didn't already have that information, you can come up here and hit edit, include that information, and then rerun the whole profile. And it's going to rescore every single piece of data based on the new input. And the more information you can provide, the better the search. Okay, so we show you those different properties. These also might help identify where a person might be this time of year. You know, he's probably not at his beach house in Rehoboth. Right now, it's probably getting pretty close to his ski resort in Utah. Right. As you scroll down, we're going to give you a couple philanthropic markers. And what I mean by that is that these signs point to this person is much more likely to give, right? The first is that they sit on the board of a grant giving foundation. There you can see the foundation they sit on the board of. You can open it up, see which one of them, in this case, both of them, sit on the board. You can also see a list of all the grants that person has made, or I'm sorry, that organization has made. Okay, so some situations like here where it's a family foundation, you could kind of consider this as an extension of his direct personal giving. Other times where if you're looking at here, the Under Armour Foundation, there's a lot of other people involved with this organization. So a lot of other decisions could be, part of that. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Next one up is grant seeking nonprofits. This is where this donor is spending his time and energy helping a nonprofit raise money. Right, so we're going to show you who the person is that sits on the board. We're also going to show you their role as well as the contributions and assets of the organization. Right, so it might be a good way to identify these people are potential board members because they have experience sitting on a larger organization in your area. Right, maybe that's an older organization that they no longer sit on. That's why we include those dates there, so that you see that they have the experience. Maybe they're there, maybe they're not, so you can make that decision. As you'll see, there's a couple potential matches that you can kind of go into and learn more about and see if they could be the person you're looking for. Next up, we use Database USA for business data. This is going to highlight, in this case, that this person is the CEO of this company, right? Which is always great to know. If you don't know what the company does, you can hit view more details and learn more about it. Right? Obviously, I think we all know what this company does, but in other situations, if it was just Plank Industries, you may not have a clue. So this is really helpful. It gives you some talking points if you're going to sit down and have a conversation with them. As we scroll down, we're going to get to MBT Wealth. Now, for those of you that have been a client for some time, you'll notice that this is one of our newest data sets. It's brand new. It's been around for about 3 or 4 months, I think. Maybe as old as 6 months. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to provide you public data sources of extreme wealth. Right? So here we have net worth, assets, and income. And then we list out the source. And sorry, this biography is kind of causing some formatting issues here, but you'll see this one's from wallmine.com. He's worth about $1.2 billion. You see that he has 826,000 in assets and then a salary of about $6 million per year. right? You can go to the rest of his connections here. You have a Forbes article that says he's a billionaire, and we have a link to AFL-CIO, which will show you his $6 million income. Again, a lot of these are public sources that you can go out and find on your own, which is great if you don't have the service. But if you do have the service, the benefit is that we're going to put them all in one place. We're going to bring it all together for you, and we're going to search all these different sources to make it easiest on you, because you don't typically have the time to spend 12 hours researching one person. Right? We're going to do it all for you in a matter of seconds. Right? Next data set is SEC Insiders. We're going to show you the stock that they have and how much they have. It's important to note here that your average individual that owns stock is not an SEC insider. Right? Basically, if you and I purchase a few shares of the Under Armour stock, we're just investors, and that information is private banking information. It's between you and whichever company you use. Okay. However, when you're the CEO of that company, your stock is public information so that the other investors know what you're doing. Okay. So basically, you can look down these shares, see how many shares of which stock he has and how much value there is there. Right. So if this was one of my potential donors, I would start tracking this stock on my smartphone. And then the second it goes up $1 or up $2, I know that he just made between 30 and $60 million. So it'd be a great time to ask him for a gift. He's going to be much more likely to be generous at that point. If that stock takes a huge fall and you were already planning on making it an ask, maybe you want to hold off till he's kind of back on his feet, or at least has calmed down from the loss. Right? It's just something to keep in mind when you're gearing up to ask a person for a larger gift. Right? We'll flash forward down here to relationships. This is going to find each of the businesses and nonprofits that he's associated with. And then when you dig deeper and you open up each section, this is going to show you the other people involved at those companies, foundations, nonprofits. Okay. Basically, it's a way for you to identify a connection to your potential donor. So if you're searching this person because they're a great donor or a board member and you know them very well, then you can ask that person for an introduction to any of these people as a next step. Okay. If you're looking at this person because you really don't know anything about them, maybe they just made their first small gift, right? So you want to learn more about them, then you can look through this list for people that you do know that could help get you in touch with this person and kind of have a group to kind of help become friends, right? That kind of thing. Next up, we give Crunchbase. Crunchbase is a biographical data set, first and foremost. They're going to give you a lot of background here that'll help you make some decisions on other data sets throughout the profile. As an example here, it says he purchased Sagamore Farm, whereas we have Sagamore Farm as a 1-star match in the business section. We couldn't confirm it, but this article does. Okay, so if you know that's right, you can go back and make that change. The average individual will not have a Crunchbase. Okay, this is really for those top potential individuals. So when you see somebody with that level of data, then you know it's somebody that's a great prospect. Okay. As you scroll down a little bit more, we have 2 more data sets for you. Social Discovery is going to go out and find social media data. In this case, we found Twitter and LinkedIn, but you can find about an additional 10 more. I think there's a total of over 100 in the data set, but most of them are pretty rare. But so you can find anywhere from 1 to 15 on average, but Twitter and LinkedIn are probably the most popular. From Twitter, we get this little blurb here that says he's CEO of Under Armour. And then from LinkedIn, we're going to have his employment history, which shows the Under Armour connection as well. Right, so it's just another great way to confirm some of the data that you've read. And last but not least, we have Database USA demographic data. Now, demographic data is a little bit different than all the other data that we've provided so far. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I want to kind of talk about what it is. All right, when you've probably heard of purchasing a mailing list, that kind of thing, a marketing list. Most of those are based on demographic data. And what it is, it's basically if, imagine if somebody at Target right, or Walmart or some kind of superstore was tracking everything that you purchased, okay, they're going to say, okay, well, you purchased diapers, so you probably have at least one child in the house, right? They're going to say you purchased a sports magazine, so you probably like sports. They're going to say, oh, you purchased a lot of CDs, so you're a music lover, right? That's basically the level of demographic data that we have here, right? It's based on the last name, based on an address. So we can kind of generalize a couple assumptions, okay, about you as a person and about your family, right? So all of this data is based on that. Does he have 6 children? He could have 5, he could have 7, right? But the signs point to roughly 6, right? You just don't want to say, hey, introduce me to all 6 of your children, right? You more want to use it as a general statement when looking at your donors to say our average donors have more than 1 child. So at the next event, you should have something for the children to do, right? Or maybe have a child specific event, right? That kind of thing will attract these donors, right? So that's just something to think about. Later on, I'll show you an actual marketing list tool where you can use all this data, and you can use that to find people that look just like your favorite donors, right? And that those people are going to be more likely to give, okay? But that's the gist of it. This is the donor search profile, right? Obviously, I covered a lot of data, and I spent a good amount of time covering it. But this is available at that low cost through Bloomerang, and you can find this level of detail on anybody in your platform so that you know whether to ask for that $50 or maybe bump it up to 500, build the strong relationship and ask for 5,000, right? You can go down that route when you know those donors a little bit better, okay? So the next service they offer is basically to pull some of those data sets inside of Bloomerang, right? So if I go back to Bloomerang here, you'll see this is an example of a batch screening, right? They've pulled back in so that I can report against each person's largest charitable gift, their overall wealth capacity, do they have a business affiliation, and more, right? All of this data is going to help you make decisions inside of Bloomerang without ever lifting a finger and diving deeper, right? But this will also help you segment your donors based on their potential and what they've already done so that you can really dive in and look at the profiles of those people that are going to be most influential, right? So that's what we call a batch screening. If you're interested in this service, again, all the prices are custom for this based on the size of your database and whatnot. So you want to talk to your customer success team member, and they will get you an exact price for that. But both of these services so far, they're just the tip of the iceberg. We have what we call an online suite of tools that will help you identify all of that information in so many more ways. And that's accessible directly through DonorSearch.net. Okay, so if I come here and I sign in to my account here, this is going to show you the full online platform. Okay, the first tool here is designed for the bulk of the rest of our clients who manually do searches through our website. Now, through Bloomerang, if you have that integration, you can just click a button and build a profile on that person. But the cool thing here is that all you need to build that same profile we just looked at is first name, last name, and state. So really, you can search it on just about anybody that you know their name for, right? Obviously, the more details you have, the better. So we have a real estate lookup tool that will go out and help you find those details. If you're searching for a super common name like Michael Smith in California, you're going to have lots of responses here, so it's going to be less than helpful. But any of those more unique names, you'll be fine. And this will help you pick too. So if you know it's Michael Smith, but you know his wife is Desiree, then you can kind of go through the list, find the right one. That gives you more details so that you can run a full detailed profile. Okay, and those searches end up right here. Now, everything to the left of that tool is a different research tool that uses the same data sets I've already covered, but in a way that will help you in different circumstances. Okay, so I'll kind of give you a quick example of each. On the far left, we have our gift search. The gift search is a way to look up businesses or foundations and see where they've given before. So if I just stay on the same train here on Under Armour, do a search with them, and we'll show you anywhere that that company has made a gift. You can sort the data by gift year or by the size of the gift. And then you'll see it's basically a keyword search. So any gift we found in our millions of charitable gift records with the term Under Armour in it are going to be here. So this does not make an ideal tool to look up an individual, because you're going to find all the Michael Bronsons that have ever given a gift in our database. This is ideal for businesses and foundations that have the unique names that are easy to track. Okay, so here we have the Under Armour Foundation making a gift. In this case, it was a grant in 2017. You have the company making a gift in 2012 for $1 million. And then you have the company working with a Cupid Foundation making a gift. Okay, all of these are going to help you narrow down the likelihood that this company or this foundation would give to you by looking at who they give, how often they give to, the size of the gift, all of that detail. The same details that you would look at for an individual to identify if they're the right fit, here you can look at for a business or foundation. Okay. The next tool is our prospect generator. This is going to get a lot of you very excited. Okay. This is a way to find new potential donors. Basically what it does is it flips this tool on its head. So instead of looking for a foundation and seeing who they give to, here we're looking for a nonprofit and see who gives to them. So let's just assume you're an education organization. We'll do in Indiana. Indy. What's the state? We're just going to go Idaho instead. We'll search Idaho here. We have a list of organizations of nonprofits in Idaho considered education in all these different cities. Okay, so here's the University of Idaho. You open it up, it's going to give you a list of all the donors to that organization that year. Okay, so you can go through this list, and if you're a similar organization to the University of Idaho, then you can see, oh, these people are likely to give to us, right? Or you can go back, find a different organization that fits a little bit better and dig through that. Okay, so it's kind of a manual tool that will help you identify potential future donors. Now, depending on what you find here is where you would do the next step. Okay, so if you do, in this case, it's a business, Empire Airlines, this will do a gift search just by clicking on the name and show you everywhere that Empire Airlines has given. Okay, so you can make that decision. Okay, if you want to look up, instead of a business, you want to look up a person, that's when you would hop over to the integrated search. You would include that person's name and then just include the state from the organization, because that's more than likely where they are. Okay, and it works a little bit better or a little bit differently with higher ed than it does with more local organizations, but it'll still get you to the right point, right? And you can build that profile. Okay, so either way, we're going to help you kind of do that manual research, find some new potential donors, and then you can reach out whichever way, depending on the type of potential donor you're researching. Okay, you can also do what we call search options, where you can look up a business or a foundation directly through our business or foundation data sets. All right, that's going to lead you to the same exact listing we saw on the profile. But in this case, it'll then give you an added step to find the person, like the CEO or the executive staff, just like we show in our relationship section for that data set. Okay, any questions on that? I know the prospect generators always tends to be one where they there's lots of questions.
Thanks, Mike. And the prospect generator, that's within the online suite of tools, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So Jeb was asking, he sees everything for the individual, but doesn't seem to be able to do the search. So that's a different level of access.
Yep. So Jeb, you could add this, the full online tool suite, if you wanted to, and there is an additional cost for it.
And Mike, so you need the name and a US address to be able to search on someone. Would DonorSearch be able to provide phone number, email address, or deceased status?
So typically not. Some of that data will come up in various sections. As an example, if you look back at our profile with Kevin here and look at his business data, right? It has a phone number, or it has an email address and a work phone number for him. So some of that information can come across, but typically that's not the main platform to do it. We do sell additional appends, just like Bloomerang offers, if you need that additional data. But in this case, no, that's not the primary goal of these tools. Okay. All right. But that being said, we can help you find addresses. Okay. So like I showed you before, the integrated search will help you find an address. The marketing list tool will also help you find addresses. And what this is it's just like I told you before with the demographic data. We're going to look at all the data sets that we provide on an individual, and we look at that data set across everybody in the country. Okay, so you can come here and find a group of people likely to donate to yourself. Okay, so if we go with a different example this time, we could do, let's say, a human service organization, right? So we're going to filter down to anybody that's given to a human service organization. And then we can say, I'm looking for someone who's given at least $1,000 somewhere to some nonprofit. And then you can say total giving, we want people that have given at least 6 gifts, right? And that's going to narrow it down to some of the larger donors, certainly in the country. Then you can do things like look for state or zip code or even city to narrow it down. So we'll look for Florida this time, right? And then, so this would be an ideal list if you're a Florida organization, Florida human service organization that is looking for new donors, right? But if you want a more specific list, you can keep going. We have over 300 demographic filters. So if you want to look for people of a certain age, or people with grandchildren, or people that like to collect stamps, right? It's going to go into that level of detail. Okay, so you can kind of pick through these. Myself, I drive a motorcycle, so I want to look for people that are driving motorcycles. All right, so now we're looking for high givers in Florida to human services that happen to ride motorcycles for our upcoming motorcycle charity fund. Okay, this is going to give you a sample here at the bottom of names and address of people you can market to. But if you click export and go through the brief disclaimer here, it's going to show you that your account has up to 500 rows. Okay, so this is one of the only tools that's not unlimited. Everything else is basically you can search to your heart's content. But this one, if you want to export the data, it's limited to 500 records for any service. And then, of course, you can purchase more if you want. And it's, again, you'll get a discounted rate through Bloomerang. But everybody gets the first 500. So I would recommend you export 500 if you have the full online tool suite. Okay. And then from there, you can add those to your marketing list, send them a postcard, talk about your upcoming event. And then if you get success with that, if you have a lot of people coming with the postcard to the event, then you'll know that you may want to purchase more lists in the future. Or, if it doesn't work out for you, at least it came included and it was an additional charge. Okay, so that marketing list is stuck at 500 unless you want to purchase more, but you would get 500 each year too, and you can continue to use them year after year. So that would tend to build up over the time. Okay. I think I've covered just about everything here up until the My Portfolio. Now, the My Portfolio is a big game changer. As any Bloomerang client should be able to attest that has this service, all your records are going to go into this one file. It's called what we call a portfolio. And then you can create other portfolios by segmenting that overall list. Okay, but there's two ways to view that data. The first way is what we call the totals table. And this is basically going to show you all of your individuals, all your donors, maybe your board members, side by side, along with any of the data that we found for them. All right, and as you can see, there is lots and lots of data at play here. For the most part, we're going to give you a lot of ratings and rankings, just like the profile. The blue data is going to be charitable giving data sets, such as political giving, such as single largest gift, such as, are they on the board of a foundation? And then the green data is going to give you that that wealth data, like real estate, businesses, capacity ratings, that kind of thing. Okay, so we're going to give it to you here side by side. You can look and export any of the data if you'd like. And it's just going to give you a ton of data to filter against and really help you make informed decisions. Okay. Now, the other way to look at the data is what we call the analysis view. The analysis view is a way to summarize all the data we found on your donors in a series of visual charts. All right, so here we have a pie chart showing the DS rating. All right, if this was your data, then we would be basically telling you that 21% of your donors have given a major gift already, which would be huge, but obviously this is kind of a stacked deck here. Right, you can also look at your capacity range. This is really going to help you plan kind of a capital campaign. We have a lot of consultants that we work with that use this data to really highlight how many people you need to include in your capital campaign and what the potential goal and target of that capital campaign can be, right? Help you identify if that goal is attainable or not. Okay. We'll also show you charitable giving in a variety of ways, my favorite of which would be number of gifts by organization. Okay. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to basically show you the most popular organization that your donors give to, right? And it's not necessarily the most money, but the most amount of gifts, right? Because when you understand who your competition is here, you're just better equipped to succeed. Okay, so some of these might be competition, some of them might be a potential partnership, but it'll show you who your organizations work with. Who your donors work with on the other side. And what I recommend to a lot of people is if you make a small gift to a couple of these organizations, you'll start to see how often they email and what their emails look like. Do they include a lot of pictures or is it mostly text heavy? You'll see how you're thanked as a donor, right? Because these are all details that your donors are comparing you to these other organizations with. And the more you know what they do, the more you can help understand what your donors are going to expect. Okay, so it's a helpful kind of tool to identify who those other organizations might be. We can also put all of your donors on a map. Okay, so you can just kind of click into the little population circles here to really find out where those organizations might be. But then you can also add filters to it. So you can say, I want to look at 1-1, 1-2, and 1-3. Those are all the top prospects for a major gift, right? So you can go and find out where exactly they are. So if this was your data, you would want to plan your event right around this area. But if you were going to go all the way across town and visit a major donor, you could possibly visit a couple others and make your trip much more efficient, right? So little things like that, just by knowing where the clusters are. And you can just kind of keep zooming in so you can get it down to a street level and see exactly where your donors are, right? You can even drop the little man on a potential donor's house and then drive down the street, right? Take a look at their neighborhood, see what they're looking at each day. Okay, most of that's just me playing with the tool at this point, but you have that capacity through the analysis view. Okay, and then when you're looking at your entire database here, you can also create a segment of just people that are major gift prospects, and then just look at those tools from that pipeline only. Right, so there's lots of ways to filter and play with the data inside the online platform. Right. Last but not least, the one other big thing that I want to include as probably one of the most important parts of our full DonorSearch online platform is this this concept of unlimited client support and training. Okay, so we're going to provide regular webinars just like this to walk you through the data. We also have a help center up here that has documents and things like our DS ratings guide, where you can kind of peruse it and see what each and every rating means and how to use that data. And then you can go back into the system, print it out, get ready and really utilize the data to its fullest. You can also go through and see various webinars that we've done, both about the online tool and just about general online principles, right? Talking about capital campaign, talking about all kinds of stuff, right? So that's one way that we're able to help you identify the various questions you may have. Okay, the other way is directly through our chat options. Okay, so as you can see down here, you can just fill out a name, toss in a question. We'll help you with whatever that question is, just like the people using the chat box in this webinar, and we'll walk you through it. If it's going to be, if it's a detailed question where we need to kind of talk in much more detail than a quick chat, then we'll schedule a call with you and walk you through the whole thing. Okay, we'll train you, we'll train your other team members and make sure everyone knows how to use the data. Okay. So with that, I think we've just about covered everything. How'd I do, Diana?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you for showing us the training and resources too. All the information is there and it's wonderful to see it, but that really helps to unlock the power of the data and what you can do with the data. So thanks for showing that.
Absolutely.
We have a couple of minutes for some questions. So I'm going to launch a poll if you are interested in any of the additional services. Again, the generosity score that you already have in your database is free and that it's included with your database. But let us know if you're interested in any of the other additional options. I'll leave that up there for a couple of seconds as we give time for people to type in their questions as well.
Awesome. I know we talked about that. I'm looking through the questions. Did we miss any?
Joe is asking, can you talk more about UHNW or MBT and what the difference is between the two?
Sure. So MBT is our new wealth database platform, right? So it's all going to be public sources of data, right? So I can kind of jump into it here. Okay, these are all, imagine searching the person's name and high wealth, right? It's going to be a couple websites that you can find that we have matched to for this person, right? So it's not just a random Google search, but it's going to give you a little bit more than that. And then we've kind of put these data sets here. These data sets are also available inside the totals table so that you can sort and filter all your different donors based on this data. But they're all public sources of this wealth data. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Thank you. If there are any follow-up questions, let us know in the chat or in the Q&A.
Awesome.
We have a question from Karen. In Prospect View, if you add a donor's gift to your organization under their charitable giving, will the info we enter be made public?
So in the prospect generator, that wouldn't be an option in that tool to add any data. All right, but if you are in a profile itself in the charitable giving section, you can add all the charitable gifts you want right here. Oh, I clicked the wrong add button. All right, you can click them right here and add and say that it's to your organization and they give you 10,000. All of that data is going to be exclusively for you. Okay, so that's never going to spread out to any of our other clients.
Great
And
question.
it's also worth noting we don't use any of your internal data either. So we're not, you know, scourging your database in Bloomerang to tell everybody in the world exactly who gave to you. We don't do anything like that.
Absolutely. Everything that DonorSearch shows you is public information. So that is information available to everyone. It just so happens that they package it nicely into this easy to read report.
Yeah.
Heather is asking, does this mean that prospect view stays private or internal to their organization?
So yes, the prospect view profiles are entirely just for you, entirely private.
We had a question earlier as well. Can you send or add files to the profile? And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, if you have annual reports, for example, that you're not seeing reflected, those types of information they can send directly to DonorSearch, correct?
Yeah, if you see, okay, my local competition is not included in their data set, then you can always send us an annual report. We'll build it into the profile and make it publicly available. Now you would see it as well as all of our other clients at that point if you send us an actual document. So you can send us your own annual reports if you'd like. Many organizations do. Others prefer to keep their own data private. That's entirely up to you. Okay. So it's up to you. You can certainly send that data. However, built into the profile, if you look at profile options, we have a section called layout editor mode. And you can actually go into the detail and change a ton of information about the profile itself, including adding custom sections. Okay, so if you want to include the Wikipedia page of this individual, you can add a custom section and add any of that data to that profile. And then anytime from Bloomerang, you click that button to get to that same profile, you'll see that Wikipedia page. Okay, none of our other clients, again, would ever see that data, but you can kind of build your own customized sections entirely and include any data sets you want. All right, so if you want to put a picture of them in, go for it. If you want to include their Facebook page or just various other pieces of data that you have on an individual, you can certainly do that in these custom sections.
Awesome. I love that option too. So you can customize it for whatever you need as well.
Absolutely.
And this is a question we get often. Can you provide like quick guidelines on when should I get prospect view versus batch screening versus the online suite of tool? Is there a good time or indicator for when I should get those tools?
Yeah, absolutely. Prospect view is great year round all the time because one of the benefits of it is that you can literally, again, it's going to come down to manpower and how much time you have, but you can literally click that button on each donation as it comes in and find out more about that particular donor. Right. So it's very, very helpful. Imagine a world where a $50 gift comes in, you click the button, it's Kevin Plank, and you can pick up the phone and call him and thank him 5 minutes after he made the gift. Right? That's really impactful. That's really powerful. Obviously, you can't do that for every single donor, but when somebody with this level of potential comes through, it'd be really beneficial. So that prospect view is good kind of year round, right? And really all the tools are, but for smaller organizations, there may be more precise timing for them. A classic example would be capital campaigns. All right, if you're going into a capital campaign, that's a great time to do a batch screening and get the full online tools because you're going to have so many more questions during that time and so much more need for the data. All right, so really they're all used all year round, all the time. But certainly if you're doing things like capital campaign or you're about to embark on a new project, maybe it's just you're going to host a special event where maybe you don't know if your donors would be if they would particularly care about that type of event, right? That would be a great time to highlight what your donors' interests are, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's lots and lots of reasons why you would want to sign up. And then once you get using the data, you'll want to use it year round.
Absolutely. We have a question here from Heather. Can you use affiliation codes to code board members?
So yes, you can come into this profile right here through the client supplied data, and we give you 20 user fields that you can do whatever you want with. Okay, so if you want to use that user field 1 to code a certain code in, you can put that in right here. And then what happens is that next time you're in the totals table, yes, I'm in the right place, then you can go to those user fields right here and see that type of data available, and you can sort and filter based on it.
Wonderful, thank you. We have about 1 minute left. Thank you again, Mike, so much for sharing all of that great information with us today. Thank you, everyone, for all of your wonderful questions. I hope that this gives you a good start for starting to use the donor search data that's in your database, that's available to you, whether that be the generosity score or prospect view or online suite of tools or batch screening. Use those tools. I hope that it gives you a better idea of the potential as well that you can still do to unlock the hidden gems in your database or uncover more prospects as well. Any last minute or parting thoughts for our friends today, Mike?
Well, first of all, thank you all for joining us. I do enjoy talking about this. I enjoy talking to all of you as often as I can. So if you have any questions for me, please feel free to shoot me an email, mike@donorsearch.net. I manage our company's entire interaction with Bloomerang. So I'm kind of the go-to on this side. We do have a full suite of client support people that if you're already a client, that they can help you out and answer any of your questions and everything. But I'm not going anywhere. So, feel free to use me, to answer some questions or help out if needed.
Thanks, Mike. I shared your email address in the chat. I hope that's okay.
Yep, of course. Thank you.
Thank you again, and thank you everyone for joining us today and spending part of your afternoon with us. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have additional questions after this, please feel free to reach out, and we're happy to help. And we hope you have a great rest of your day, and we see you in another Academy class soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.